So far, right on this beginning, I just put a little bit of a layout sketch to try to help me decide how it's going to place on the page. And the outer edge is more or less the contour line drawing, so you're trying to look at the outside edge of this, but at the same time trying to build up the shape of this as circular shapes, just like the figure drawing. And once that's laid in there, I can kind of find some of the cross contour lines to help me locate that section, at least to get started. And then it's taken a little bit of concentration to, if I'm going to start off with a contour line and also look at the way this is laid out, the stem, and looking for things that have more of a mechanical approach to it are going to give me a little bit of help. And once this reference that you have, you can also expand or zoom into it to really get a very close rendition of this piece. And so now I can kind of take, and the idea of the contour is to try to find that edge. As I look through this, I already have kind of a three-dimensional look to it. See where it kind of wraps itself? It may overlap the line here, and that line itself is going to show some of the space and the depth of this object. And as you come down, you can see it's probably going to be circular, but you can find all the subtle changes and the textures. And as we go through this, it's emphasizing this. So if I focus in on the top of this, I can see some lines that are cross contour lines inside this stem that wrap it around. And this is going to help with all the graphics there. It's kind of, as it gets lighter, the line gets lighter. There's an overlap to it. Wrapping this all the way around down onto the bottom there. And as I look at it a little closer, I can see, as I'm trying to say, like these lines, this shape is represented. This one kind of has a space almost there to show that hidden spark that goes around it, and with the cross contour lines as well. If I take a look at the stem a little bit closer and examine the actual object, and just kind of focus in on that a little bit. See if I can slide that over there a little. You can see plenty of detail, and it really emphasizes this. So here this has a fold, represents the whole front of the pear, and then the stem inside, cylindrical at first, wraps around, and it has this extra pieces up here. And this type of detail is where you can find the depth and volume of this shape here. So blending that in there. And then once you have that, then it goes to the idea of finding the tone, kind of blending. Just kind of start with this one as a cylindrical shape. You can kind of see it emphasized. Thinking of it like the gradients that are laid in there. Solid edges here. Really a fine detail. And then you can also see some of the textures, which can come in later. The paper kind of has a texture in itself, and then as you see these undulating shapes coming down this edge here. So as a contour line drawing, that's kind of that at the beginning, and then from that point out, kind of seeing if you can take a look at the tone and the shading for it. And that again, kind of finding that outside edge to it, giving it its light source. Light's coming from the right, and then it's just a matter of trying to blend that in. And again, the stroke that I'm using, trying to wrap around the form, building this up. That edge. And this paper has a slight tooth, a texture to it, so it's inherently helping this, and I can move this paper around so that it helps the shape of all the shading lines helping there. Blending up way. And again, I can either hold the pencil straight or to the side, just kind of blend some of those pieces together. It's going to go from dark to light. You can see I'm emphasizing this reflected light here. So I'll tone that down a bit. And still I can go back and find that contour line and really help it in there. Blend it across. So all the way across, and I can start to see some of the textures I can apply into that. Come up into the top of this. This top of this stem, for example, when I look at the cast shadows, see if it's casting a shadow right on top of itself, which helps with the form. Blending it in so. And if I take a look at the highlighting coming across, follows the contour, cross contour of the actual pear. Just kind of make it as smooth as I can. And again, like some of the textures are showing through. So when you see the change of the pear, you can focus on one area of it, of the texture that's closest to you, and hopefully your eye will feel that the whole thing has the texture and just kind of blend right around it. And then the last part here is the cast shadow. Now the cast shadow has this soft light. It wasn't a very strong sunlight was just taken in. So just kind of locating that shape, and you can see how it quickly diffuses on the other side there. But it is dark. The closer this gets to the shape, touching the surface, the table. And this part you can kind of see. So it's very similar, just using the part that has the cylinder, circle, sphere, everything that's in there is the geometric part that's beneath it, and seeing if you can create that basic shape there.